Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AMT Tech Trends podcast, where we discuss the latest manufacturing, technology research, and news. Today's episode is sponsored by MT Forecast. I am the director in a box, Benjamin Moses, and I'm here with
AMT's plus-size male model, Stephen Lamarca.
and producer Ramia Lloyd. Hey, Ramia.
Hi, guys.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Steve, we've been talking about automation.
Yes.
Now it's trickling into the home.
Yeah, so, okay, I wanted to bring this up, not because I was looking into home automation. I mean, maybe someday I will. But I used to think of you as a little bit more nerdy than you actually are now, in that there was a few episodes of podcasts where we would banter on home automation.
Right.
And I was like, this isn't a thing. I mean, sure, there's actual products out there, but home automation is not a generally accepted term. This is a Ben term that he got from the industry, and I'm sure he calls his network the home Internet of Things, the home IoT.
Oh, I got a network.
And I know you have a server as well, but now that I'm a homeowner.
Yep.
And I'm in I've been adopted or baptized by fire into the home improvement game. I've been making some stomps to Lowe's and Home Depot. And I don't remember which one of them it was exactly.
One of the boxes.
But I'm walking through there looking for light bulbs, and sure enough, there's like a sign hanging from the ceiling pointing to a section.
A sign from God.
And it's a labeled section. And sure enough, home automation was a section of either Home Depot or Lowe's. But it's a thing. Like, Ben's a real boy.
I pat myself on the back for that.
Home automation is actually a thing,
It's
and
a
it's
real
not
thing.
just a Ben term.
The most successful automation, and it's funny because when I go in there and I browse too, because I'm a giant nerd, there's so many things that are just so complex there that I just took a light switch replacement for the bathroom to put the exhaust on a timer. So, I said it's 15 minutes, you got to be done in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because how often do you go into the shower and you obviously want to turn on the exhaust, but it's an on-off switch, right?
Right.
And it's going to run the whole day, and that's what one of the easiest things to automate is just
That's a
limiting
genius
time.
idea. It's genius because there's plenty of times where, I've never been late to work, but if I was to be late to work, I'm sure the last thing I did at home is get out of the shower.
Right.
And especially when you own a home and you don't want to grow mold and mildew in your bathroom,
right,
you got to get all that vapor out of there from running a hot shower. So you turn on the fan and you want to leave it on. Like the time that you're in the bathroom isn't long enough for it to evacuate all of the steam from the bathroom. So when you leave the house, you're like, I'm leaving that fan on. But now you're burning electricity.
Wasteful.
You're going through electricity. And I'm not, Melissa works from home.
Yeah.
But she might not turn it off unless it really annoys her. It'll turn. She won't turn it off. So there is a chance that when I get home at 5 or 6 o'clock, that fan will still be running.
That annoys me when you walk in the house.
So that is a genius. Good for you. The home improvement stuff is, I'm not gonna lie,
it feels good.
It's kind of fun. It definitely feels good.
The other trick I did is going through the garage. I installed a timer switch on that because when I leave, I turn on the light, open the garage door, get in the car, and the timer's set for 5 minutes. So it'll turn off, a couple of minutes after I leave.
Yeah.
And that feels really good. Because I did install some new lights too, which I think you did, right?
Yes. That's also what I want to talk about. I'm ready to nerd out about some lights. So I wouldn't say I am a lighting expert. I am sure I am far from it. But I will say this. People were trying to turn me into an expert, and I said nay.
Oh.
But I knew that I wanted really good lighting in my garage. I've got my dream garage. We've got 2 sports cars and 2 motorcycles. I want not laminated, an epoxy floored garage, freshly painted white walls in the garage that the owners did before they left and sold it to us. But the light bulbs in there, it was a perfect garage, except for these cool, way too cool temperature, compact fluorescent bulbs, CFLs, that were this cold blue color, and they took forever to warm up and actually get to full lighting.
Right.
And it's just this is such a nice garage and this is ruining it. Had to swap them out. And I'm I think it was at Lowe's, and I grab the most powerful bulbs that I can. And it's not unreasonable. It's not like I overdid it. It's perfect. I've got 5,000 lumens. Yes, I got 5,000 lumens at 2,700 Kelvin.
Nice.
Which is soft white.
Okay.
Which is more yellow than it is blue.
Yeah.
No LEDs just simply can't get right down the middle.
Right.
It's either blue or it's yellow. But these yellows are very close to center. I definitely didn't want blue. And my friends are telling me, it's like, Steve, you got to go with cool. You messed up buying the soft white by getting these yellow bulbs.
Sure.
Like, you got to get blue. And my friends telling me this are actual like tradesmen.
Okay.
Like one's an electrician, the other one actually gets their hands dirty working on cars and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, you want blue because it makes it easier to see anomalies when you're checking fluids,
sure,
and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's a valid point. But the garage door opener has soft white lights that are yellowish, and I wanted cohesion in the lighting coming from the ceiling.
Definitely.
I didn't want yellow garage door opener lights with blue lights. It looked really cheap. That's what I had before, just not bright.
Yeah.
And so I made it nice and even. All of the lights are the same color now, and now it's super bright in my garage.
Nice.
And they were like, yeah, well, just go take, I guess we don't know anything. We're only technicians. That's the point, though.
That is, yep.
Like, if I was actually working on my cars, maybe I would go blue.
Maybe.
But let's be honest. I don't like getting my hands dirty.
Exactly.
I really don't like it. I'm here to look at my toys.
Yeah.
And I want to see my toys in the best light possible.
Exactly. And I think that's a key realization. Like, there's the idealization of how you want to use a garage versus how you actually use a garage.
Right. It's the whole kitchens with stainless steel appliances thing.
Yeah.
They want it to look like a professional kitchen.
Right.
It's like, you're not a pro. If you want to look like a pro, if you want to look like a professional kitchen, where's the nitrile gloves?
The industrial applications of all those environments, like kitchens and garages, are cold. It's a very, very cold environment. Like, they're using stainless and a lot of harsh lighting. That's not a home environment, right? So
no, that's an industrial environment.
Exactly.
I work in the industry. I want to come home to home.
Yeah. So I think going with the softer light, and also
it looks amazing.
If you do work on it, you just bust out a flashlight, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're gonna pull in a lamp anyway. You're gonna hang a lamp from your hood anyway.
Or if you have a child, say,
your lighting won't be enough.
Child, hold this light for me.
Yeah, but like the color, the 2,700 degrees Kelvin.
Yeah.
Color, or not, 2,700 Kelvin. Kelvin is not measured in degrees.
Correct. Get this right.
Kelvin is perfect. Celsius and Fahrenheit are flawed.
God bless Kelvin.
But 2,700 Kelvin lights perfectly reminds me of late afternoon, early evening daylight in San Diego, California.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is the most hippie, liberal, awful thing I could ever say in my life, but it's true, and I get a really nice vibe from it.
I had the best octopus tacos in San Diego.
I bet. Oh. Lighting's awesome.
Steve?
I'm really proud of it. I feel like there was one more thing that I wanted to say about
it. Seen on TV.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. So one of my friends who's telling me to go with like the cool lights and stuff and was like, yeah, put those bulbs back. Take them back to Lowe's with your receipt and get a refund because this is what you want. He sends me a link to Ace Hardware.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, Ace Hardware is legit.
Reputable company.
This is a professional place, not like Lowe's for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing owning a home. But like, click on the link and it's like this 3-pedaled LED light thing. It looks pretty official. Then I notice one of the pictures says it comes in a box. Oh. And the box has this little red emblem on it that says as seen on TV. And I was like, I'll be damned if me, a millennial, buys some boomer like late at night at Sunrise Retirement Community watching the TV because I can't sleep because of all of the pills that I'm taking. Like, buys some stuff for my nieces and nephews, or excuse me, my grandchildren from QVC. I'm not getting that.
That's a callback.
I want GE bulbs or Panasonic.
I think as seen on
Philips.
TV marker is detriment to a product.
Yeah, you like you know you're not.
You didn't make it.
Full
time.
Yeah. It's not going to be made in Italy.
Although I think we should get podcast shirts that say "as seen on TV." Would that be pretty good?
That's actually incredibly humbling, and I love that. I would love that road tripping with Steve, and it just
As
says
seen on-
as seen on TV. It's like, you're right. I'm a ZZ lister.
Steve, you want to tell us about today's sponsor?
Who's the today's sponsor? MT Forecast. I'll hold it up for the camera. MT Forecast brings the latest economic news and industry trends straight to attendees. Industry leaders, executives, and key decision makers will explore an agenda that provides a roadmap to better business strategies through customer industry insights, economic forecasting, and deep dives into market data. For years, MT Forecast speakers have been sharing crucial looks into the near future. Go to amtonline.org/events to save the date and register. I'm actually really looking forward to MT Forecast this year.
It's gonna be good.
It's going to be in Detroit, too.
Get some great tours.
2 reasons to look forward to going on this trip.
Yeah. Steve, I want to talk about. I got 2 things on Pratt Whitney.
Talk to me.
First one's not so good.
Uh-oh.
Let me read it directly what they're saying. Pratt Whitney has determined a rare condition in powder metal used in manufacturing certain engines parts will require accelerated fleet inspection on the A320 line. So they've got a new fleet.
That's some serious. That's heavy. That's thick.
That's
legalese right there.
That's the interpretation is they have some additive parts that aren't seeing the life that they expected. Am I wrong?
That is definitely what they are trying to cover up. And the legalese is making it seem like through additive, these parts may be performing better than they're actually supposed to. But we all know that nobody would ever release a statement like with a recall because it's doing better than it's supposed to.
And
so
I think it's fine because, taking a step back, they're taking risk to get in, trying some new things. So saying we need to check these parts more often.
Yeah.
That could occur with anything. But coming out and saying we need to do this immediately and change these parts immediately, that's where you see like things breaking quickly.
Yeah.
But saying we need to check these because fatigue is it's hard to quantify fatigue in certain scenarios, and
you're absolutely right.
Fine.
They're not necessarily trying to. They're wording it in a very positive way, which is good for the writers, by the way. They're doing it as a means of customer service and quality assurance and quality control, and they are making sure that this part is sufficient.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which without any failures, it's not like a major recall. If it might not even be a recall at all, it's just they're letting you. It's a nice, honest move from such a large company because they're like basically saying, "Hey, this could happen. We want to own up. We want you to hear it from us before you hear it from like a technician or a dead pilot."
And also, aircraft engines do go through a series of inspection intervals. And I think all they're doing is pulling it up to a previous interval. So it's not like it's like taking a car for oil change at a regular maintenance.
Right.
Aircraft engines go through a regular inspection cycle a certain amount of hours.
Yeah.
And they just bring it up. It's fine.
When I submit a oil sample to Blackstone Labs for my car or motorcycle for an oil check, and they do mass spectrometry on it to see what's in it and make sure everything's wearing fine. Talked about this a million times. Sorry. They do have you specify on the slip that you write all of your notes to them so they can know what to expect.
Right.
And if you have any questions, they can answer them. They have you log how many miles are on the engine and how many miles are on the oil, but like not necessarily miles. You can choose kilometers, miles, and hours.
Oh, okay.
And
that's interesting.
I just think that's cool.
No, that's a good segue because to follow
I like how aviation measures things in time.
To follow up, Pratt Whitney, they've developed a turboprop a number of years ago, and they've been using that. So it's gone through this turboprop called the PT6. It's gone through several iterations on version E now, but the total accumulation for the fleet of turboprops has hit 500 million flight hours.
500, not 1,000, 500 million flight hours.
500 million flight hours. That's a big number.
That is, and we did the math before this, 57,040 years.
It's almost old as I am.
That's how many. That's the cumulative amount of time that I'm slow to react to that. That's amazing. That's how much cumulative time all of these products that they've made.
Yeah,
Of this particular
it's
type.
crazy, and they delivered more than 61,000 of these engines. So the OEMs
That is
celebrating
super cool.
60 years of that specific engine. So
Almost 60,000.
yeah, and it's pretty cool because they talk about some of the iterations. They're at version E right now, and they've been able to reduce the number of maintenance by like 40% and things like that. So, both the longevity, aerospace. That's one thing that I found very interesting. That early design, being part of the early design and new product development for aerospace. A lot of times they'll project the aircraft to last 30 years, which is very interesting because you're producing parts for 30 years, but then you see a little bit of turnover towards the end. So.
Well, I also remember when we went to Boeing and like a air carrier, when they order a plane, they're going to take delivery of that plane 10 years later.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of time going.
There's a bit of lead time.
There's a lot of waiting.
And it's just mind-boggling when you talk about planning something out for that long and having to support that. Like, can you imagine?
Oh my God!
Just think about the home automation experiment we were just talking about. Having to support that little switch for another 30 years.
Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
How about? I wonder how. There must be some position in an airline company that is looking at like, we're waiting for our next plane. We just placed an order. It's going to be 10 years. And meanwhile, we've got customers complaining about a 30-minute delay. Like the difference in levels of entitlement, but like on different planar levels of existence almost are wild.
See if you have an article on robotic arms and Prime Day specials.
Yeah. So, okay. As it turns out, the company that this article is talking about is Wlkata. WLKATA. That company that I talked about last time or the episode before last time. But what's cool about this article advertisement, this artitisement, if you would, the people who published it, the New York Post.
Oh, cool.
This came out in a major publication that learn more robotics and engineering with this mini robot arm, now $92 off.
Wow.
This is not cheap. This is after $92 off is a $1,700 robot still.
Not bad.
So hopefully you have a few kids to learn off of it.
Amortize the cost over a few kids.
Spin that out, spread it out a little bit. But what's cool about this is that a mainstream news organization has taken robotics, which is a subdivision of manufacturing, to the mainstream. It is accepted in education, that they know that people want their kids to learn about robotics because there is a lucrative future in robotics.
Yeah.
I think it's fast. So in the next year or so, we could see some Willie Nelson song about having your kids be doctors, lawyers, and roboticists and such.
That would be cool. Yeah, it is interesting that manufacturing is seeing a lot more exposure in mainstream. We were just briefly chatting about Oppenheimer, the movie just released, and the manufacturing involved in developing those technologies.
Very dark.
It's very dark, but manufacturing in the film industry has grown a lot, both on camera and off camera. So, excuse me. And I definitely agree with you that the exposure in developing tools like this to have parents say, okay, lawyer may not be a future for you. Doctor may not be a future for you. How about manufacturer? Roboticist. Roboticist is a very cool title.
Yeah. Oppenheimer may have, I don't want to get too deep into it, but Oppenheimer may have done the opposite of this. There was 450 machinists were involved in, the development of the atomic bomb. And when I was in college and we were studying radiation in the physics program, we took an entire semester before we started that stuff, an entire semester to understanding the safety and why all of the safety is necessary with radiation.
Yep.
And it is generally accepted in the scientific community, in the academic community, that radiation poisoning is one of, if not the worst way to die.
Right.
You will not have a long life, and it won't be a peaceful death. And Oppenheimer, that the 450 machinists
Yep.
involved in milling and turning those slugs
Mm-hmm.
and donuts of radioactive cores for these bombs.
They're exposed to
Did not live
radiation.
long.
Yep.
And it's messed up because not only is it an awful death, but like it doesn't just affect you; it affects your future generations
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
or generations that you plan to have
Right.
might not exist because of that exposure.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really scary, and so
That was
become a machinist, but don't machine radioactive material.
Approved. Steve,
If your boss comes up to you and say, "Oh, it's just a special alloy," and they say nothing else, find another job as a machinist.
and it's glowing like the Tesseract.
Nicely done.
Steve, I've got one. It's related to the military, but I really like this article because it talks about how connected the military is with fairly small businesses to grow technologies and the business. The defense is very interested in growing the industrial base for several layers. One, we've shrunk a little bit and be able to produce end goods for the Department of Defense. They want to grow that more. They see more usage across the world, and they're interested in growing new technologies, but also the capability and capacity. So this article talks about a startup receiving a $1.5 million contract to help look at in situ inspection for additive. And it talks about basically the time frame and, a $1.5 million injection for a lot of companies, it's great. But it talks about, they have a specific use case of potentially repairing large-scale parts or recladding parts very quickly. So the use case I'm very interested in is parts can fail, crack, or get to a point where it can't be used. So, for example, like a rail for a missile launcher. One specific use case I saw was the end of those tend to crack. So they take off the whole rail and they replace it with a new rail. It's a single piece rail, right?
Right.
But if you could machine that crack out and reclad it and machine it back, repairing those type of parts, gets your service pool back up and gets you back
Additive advertises that all the DED especially
Right.
metal DED advertises that all the time with like ship screws,
Exactly.
propellers.
Yeah. Yep. So, and we see that occurring more on.
Is it propellers are on planes and screws are on ships
I think that's right.
or boats?
Also, you have a screw compressor on a
Like a Whipple
turbocharger.
supercharger, a positive displacement supercharger,
Yeah.
a twin screw.
That's a tangent.
We could talk about forced induction all day.
So I thought it was very good.
All day.
Very interesting use case of the Department of Defense looking at growing a small business, but also developing new use cases and technology, because those use cases get the value of that is the rest of the defense seeing those use cases and bringing that into those applications, because they're very application specific, right? This is sponsored by the Air Force. Someone in a different branch needs that exposure to say, yeah, we could do that for tanks. We could do that for other rotary aircraft. So I thought it was very, very cool, very interesting use case.
Imagine if additive got super small enough and precise enough that gas port erosion on like an AR-15 was able to be repaired through additive.
That'd be cool.
They sent a little teeny tiny 3D printer down the barrel to the gas port and see where it's worn away from thousands and tens of thousands of rounds at 60,000 PSI and replace that material.
I mean, to be honest, the quick fix is drill a bigger hole and just weld it and then drill another hole.
New barrel. Just get a new barrel, nerd.
New barrel.
You want a fluted barrel with 1 in 8 inches of twist.
Steve, tell me about cobots.
Oh my God. All right. I already told. No.
We have another one on cobots.
Another one on robots. Okay. So this one, last one was the New York Post. This one's the Times of India.
Nice.
5 reasons larger companies are turning to robots. And we get a lot of news. I get a lot of news in my feed, both tech trends and my personal feed that come from Times of India.
Cool.
I really like their manufacturing look on stuff. I mean, they're a major manufacturing country.
Yeah.
They know a thing or two about manufacturing. But what was really cool about this, 5 reasons larger companies are turning to robots. Of these 5 reasons, a few of them we already know because the industry has been peddling them as a advertisement, a feature towards why you would want to adopt cobots. Mainly the one being safety to humans.
Yep.
You don't need to do repetitive, hard labor tasks if you have a cobot, and that saves the future of your joints and bones. So you can live a happier, longer life if you employ more cobots to assist your human laborers. Well, apparently that's one of the big selling points that they have verified.
Yep.
Does in fact is the case. But this one was really cool. We think about cobots. When we think collaborative robots, we think of a robot that is competent and capable of collaborating with a human being.
Yeah.
But the larger companies that are adopting cobots see the collaboration more as an advantage of these new cobots collaborating with older industrial non-collaborative robots.
Interesting.
You don't have to reprogram the industry. It can keep doing what it's doing. The collaborative robot is programmed to work around it, which I thought was really cool.
That's clever.
It's in the name. We should have thought of it. It's collaboration. Why should it only be exclusive to humans? But it's really cool. And there's 3 more reasons on there, and we'll have the link in the description. But it was just a really cool article.
That's good. And yeah, that is an interesting use case of constantly retrofitting a manufacturing space. We talked about airplanes lasting 30 some years, but if I buy something in my old company, we would plan for that thing to keep running and running till it physically can't run anymore.
Yeah.
So being able to augment around that, have a fairly deprecated piece of equipment, but upgrade around that. That's a fine plan.
And to your point, without leaving the listeners hanging either, the other 3 points that large companies have adopted cobots, one, of course, being a simpler user interface.
That's cool.
Easier to pick up and learn. Helps close that skills gap a little bit. But to your point about upgrading, collaborative robots are more easily adapted to the implementation of AI and AI software with robots, which is what this article claims.
Yep.
And lastly, smaller companies, larger firms benefit from improved productivity and quality consistency.
Cool.
So didn't necessarily have to be cobots. They just want more. Companies just want more robots, and cobots are available.
Nice. See, the last one I want to talk about is also related to cobots or robots, but it's more in the field. We've been talking about automation for construction, so being able to 3D print a house. That's the thing we've seen. We've seen a couple of demonstrators of bricklaying robots. We're seeing a lot more automation in real world, not outside the factory. This article talks about a couple of them. One is manual turbine blade inspection. So wind turbines, massive, 300-foot blades. Previously, it was manually inspected. Cleaning, repairing was done by hand. This one, they're talking about adding a cobot. Basically, the picture shows it's a cool cobot. So it's got a motion device that crawls along the blade, and a UR arm on top of that to do the manipulation. So it's complementing transportation of the robotic arm itself.
That's really cool.
And it's a cool picture that it's crawling along, obviously inspecting and potentially repairing the blade as it goes around.
I'm jealous because one of those manual turbine blade inspectors gets paid a lot of money. Like that is
Sure.
that is a specialized profession.
Yes.
And now you're implementing robots to help you out and make your job easier.
Yeah.
But adding that to your repertoire also makes you a specialized roboticist. So now you're getting paid even more.
Exactly. The article goes over a couple of examples of what they're doing, but I thought it was fantastic. And the other examples they talk about are in construction. Companies like Hilti, they're developed.
I love Hilti.
They're doing some really interesting
cobot-powered
drywalling solution. Then incorporates some vision systems that help you define the quality of the skim coat. I thought that was very interesting.
That's really cool.
And they talk about the different levels of quality that they can achieve.
Dude, automation is just like a one-upping technology.
Yeah.
We'll see an article about Florida is now has a company that 3D prints luxury barns for you. And here comes Hilti be like, we got robots that'll build your house. That's sick.
And the last one,
Like, what a time to be alive.
They talk about are also along the finishing. So painting, coating, plastering, drywall. So actually screwing in drywall. When's the last time you did something on ceiling? That is a nightmare to work on. I painted a couple of ceilings in my time.
3 nights ago, I was looking up at the vent in our owner's suite.
Yep.
And because we had a leak coming from it.
Okay.
So but all it did was look at the ceiling.
Yeah. I'm sure you got a crick in your neck for just from looking up.
Yeah. I needed a robot to do that for me.
I thought it was a very interesting look of the shifting.
Thank God we got Hilti.
The transition of taking, inside the factory technology to go outside the factory. So that was cool. Steve, that was a great episode.
This is a great episode. This was educational.
Yeah.
And I think we brought the humor.
Yeah.
Infotainment, baby. Infotainment sells.
Where can they find more info about us?
amtonline.org/resources. Like, share, subscribe.
Bing bong.
Bye, everyone.
We've got the best sign off in the industry. 2 thumbs up.
Killed it.